Order. We do have proof of posting in accordance with Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code as amended, known as the Texas Open Meetings Act. Any members of the public who wish to speak shall each have 5 minutes. All right. If there is no one, we'll go to item number 1, which is to approve the payroll.
Make a motion to approve the payroll.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 2, solar farms. We've been discussing the issues with solar farms. Did she bring y'all a sheet? Yes, good. Okay, just a little summary of some of the issues that we've talked about. We wanted to try to narrow this down so that we will be sure to address each request on the same issues. We talked to Dan about one of these issues, and we might address that first. The agreements that we have received from the solar farm companies have talked about paying so much per megawatt. And Dan, when the time comes, will take the value that they give us, figure what the taxes are for 10 years, based on assumptions is what you said. First of all, that the tax rate will have to be the same, just for our assumption up front, because we don't know what will happen later on. Anyway, figure that because they do decrease in value over those years. I think you said the first year is significant to the second year.
Well, there's a predefined depreciation schedule that I should be able to get pretty close if I know a starting value, or I could just build a spreadsheet on 100 million in value and what that does depreciated over 10 years.
And it's, man, they depreciate 80 in the first, I mean, that's what.
No, it's,
What was 50?
they depreciate
The first 10 years.
80% over the first 10 years. And I don't know that it's exactly
So much.
15 or 20% a year, but I can find out from counties that have already had these established
One
and
of
kind of
those
see what the rate of
schedules,
depreciation.
it was equal, what I had presented when I checked, it was.
And that's just something I kind of wanted to check. It very well may be equal or close enough. It's not going to be significant, but
One was.
I can, that's easy enough to kind of calculate. We don't know what the rates will be given years, so we probably would just have to assume our current rate, but it's not going to fluctuate a whole lot, I would imagine.
And then we'll take that, what the taxes would be for the 10 years, and, you know, work backwards and see how much per megawatt we would want them to pay, so that we're sure we're getting all the
I
tax.
figured last week, based on the figure they had in there, and then based on the data that they'd give us, and it was that megawatt dollar amount was already discounted about 70%.
All right, thank you, Dan. And so the percentage that we are going to discount, that will be the first question. If instead of doing an abatement, we do the pilot program, just to be clear for everybody that have been visiting with us before. If it's an abatement, we just decide how much abatement we're going to give to everybody, and if we're going to pilot program route, then how much are we going to discount, which is basically the same.
Same thing.
Yeah. It's called something different.
Given our rate, we're the lowest in surrounding counties.
Yeah.
All right, and they're doing them in surrounding counties, so they're already getting a pretty good discount coming here comparatively. I don't think we need to give them 20%. Because they're not bringing any jobs.
Do you have to give any?
No, but if you do that, then we can force them to do a road use agreement. We can't force a road use agreement, I mean, that way we can tie it to it. right or wrong. Because we can't really force a road use agreement, force them to sign one.
Dan, would you say that there is a value to the pilot program? To
Well-
get the same amount for 10 years?
Well, there's certainly a value because you're going to get predefined payments that can be used for the
I'm
budget.
not having to pay that much up front. That first year is when the huge amount.
I really think the county would generate more money through a tax rate. You've got more clause if they don't pay. You know, you can file a tax lien on their property. I don't know if you can do that under a pilot program if they were to default or.
Yeah, that's,
So that could be messier, but I'd have to look at the numbers. I'd have to see how much they're wanting to pay. I mean, certainly there's value there because you're quote unquote guaranteed some income, but I don't know if that income would be
Tax rate
worth.
went up later on, that's a benefit to them. They would still be at our set at 37.
Yeah, it would be good for their business model and bottom line to know what they're going to pay. And I was looking yesterday, and our rate is significantly lower than all surrounding counties. I've got it in here, but that is a true statement. Leon County's the closest. Navarre County is probably the most expensive place to do business, especially when you figure in Navarre County and Henderson County have a college district. That's another 10 or 11 cents on the rate. So it's more expensive to do business in those counties than ours. So I certainly agree with that statement.
With the Tawakoni Creek, the Tawakoni Creek project is, part of it is in Navarre County and part of it is in Freestone. And I think we need to think about where
When you
they
say
go.
Walney Creek's solar farm.
Yeah, the solar farm project. And there's been some discussion about where they put the batteries, you know, where they store those, that's an addition thing that needs to be.
the gentleman that called me last week about doing a battery site in the county told me that that program had nothing to do with solar. It was not considered a renewable energy source by the government, so that they didn't qualify for the same tax benefits. And so I'm wondering on these solar farms, if they are going to put batteries out there, is that a separate entity that is going to be taxed different? Y'all have a meeting June 6th.
We know.
We'll find- Are we ready to discuss and finalize this, or y'all still thinking about it?
I'm ready on the discount part. I don't think we can answer the megawatt question though.
Yeah.
Well, that'll just be something we figured to negotiate with them at the time.
Compare that to the 20% figure. I mean, where it falls in there, right? Or I'll throw in the 20, whatever number we agree on, but that's
On a
not.
megawatt deal, it doesn't start until it's completed, right?
The other doesn't either.
They're actually working.
They'll be taxed on the land at the fair market value rather than the agriculture as it has been. But until it's complete, Dan, you can speak to that. Until the project is complete, it won't be taxed, the equipment won't be taxed until they put it in service.
I'm not sure how the appraisal's going to go in that transition. I would think you could get in a scenario where it might be partially complete 1 year, but I can't definitively say how the appraisal's going to work out, you know, in any given year in any stage of completion. 'Cause I just don't know that. I can find out, but I don't know it right now.
If you would, and let me know, because we're having a meeting with some of those,
Okay.
and then we'll up to date on that. So I guess really all we're talking about today is the discount.
I think 20%.
I mean, they're not bringing any jobs, I mean.
And based on our low tax rate.
For them to do the pilot, we would have to do some type of discount, there's no incentive to them to do that. And doing it, enforce their hand on the road use agreement.
Correct.
You're, I mean, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Tie it all together.
Mhm. They're definitely gonna tear up some roads.
That's my opinion, it's over 20, given our rate.
What about the, do we have the lawyer, that Mr. Dixon, did they look at our, has he looked at it? Is that, he didn't look at it?
I didn't really know what to tell them yet.
You don't-
Okay. We are gonna stay with 10 years. 10 years, 20% discount, okay? And that will be based on the current tax rate. And we have, we talked about maybe doing a larger percentage the first year, and then 9 years for the rest of the funds.
Yeah, I ran some numbers on that one that we had the numbers on last time. And of course, we threw out there maybe one the first year or two, and I was playing with 25% the first year, 25 the second. I mean, and that puts us in pretty good shape, in case something was to fall apart. But I don't know if 1 year, I don't know if we maybe get 30% up for, on the first year, or, I don't know what would be the best for us.
Well, the best for
One year,
us would be
Yeah.
to get the most the first year.
Right.
But the purpose of the pilot is for them to have the least in the first,
Right.
or an equal amount.
Yes.
That
10
helps
years.
them on their operations.
That's, at 25, that still fell under what they would have paid with no abatement, it's still
That's
small
right.
amount.
And that tax rate being locked for 10 years,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's gotta be worth a lot to them.
yeah,
A whole lot.
First year, 25%,
I think it's worth trying, and then distribute the other equally.
and the 9 years equal. Okay.
I'd like to ask, are y'all talking about a percentage of the taxable value being abated? What are we talking about on percent?
Okay,
The
the schedule they give us had projected taxes for what they would pay for 10 years. We grabbed that number, what it would be with no abatement at our current rate, and their figures. That one was 9.5 million.
Most of them are between 9 and 10,
Yeah.
I think, out of 5.
And then we were working off of that number, discounting off of that 10-year number.
The same way an abatement does, a percentage of it.
The pilot program gives them a 100% abatement, and then it's just a 10-year contract that they're making a payment,
Just
straight
paying
to
it.
the
Same
general.
amount.
If you
In
do
lieu
the
of taxes.
If you do the pilot, then there's no abatement, there's 100% abatement. But on that pilot, once you've figured the taxes for the 10 years, that will all be discounted 20%, if that's the amount.
Okay, so you're thinking about moving in the direction of 100% abatement to get the payment in lieu of taxes?
Yeah.
And then you're talking about a discount off of
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, off of that, so basically a 20% abatement, and
That's what it,
that's
On the
basically what
pilot
it.
program, nothing on that doesn't change the 100% abatement on taxes. 100% abatement on taxes, and then you just go to the pilot program, figure the taxes, and 20% discount on what those taxes for the 10 years would be.
Okay,
And then divide that into the equals.
okay, so you are looking at 100% abatement, we're talking a discount
Two
on.
different things, yeah.
Okay.
The abatement and the pilot, yeah.
so would we also be saying on this that if we did not go with the pilot program, that our abatement would be 20%?
I don't know. Yeah.
That's what I mean, that's not, we're not cutting that together.
Yeah, that's.
Is it better to know exactly how much money you got coming in for the 10 years? Or if you go with the pilot?
Or talk about doing the abatement, percentage of abatement.
If we
We're
did,
thinking it should come out, the same amount of money, it's just done in a different
Different.
but
way.
it's just figured on the current rate, if the
Yeah.
rate changes,
Yeah.
that 20,
And I can't think it's gonna go down.
But the other thing is, I mean, there's 8 potential talks of solar farms.
Yeah.
8 different companies trying to put something together.
Mhm.
Best I know, all 8 of them put this together and then they sell it.
yeah.
None of these people are gonna be the ones that we're dealing with now are gonna own the panels when they start.
That's
The
right.
odds, of those 8, probably 3 or 4 would be all that would come to be, per the odd statewide
Yeah.
average on the ones that actually go to
But if
the
you
finish
did-
line.
If there were 3 that all started within 24 months of one
Yeah.
another, with that much additional revenue coming in, if we didn't do the pilot program, what kind of change would that be on our revenue tax rate?
Well, without trying to convolute things worse, what I understand most recently in state law where they're talking about the pilot program, which that's a generic term used nationwide, but it was for school districts and that actually sunset this last December. But it was a good deal for the school districts and the legislatures allowed the school districts to do this because the way school districts are funded, if they collect too much money, it just goes to the state. If they don't collect enough money per student for their formulas, money comes from the state. So schools by state law are not allowed to give abatements. So if a $100 million or $500 million project came to town, the schools couldn't do anything to help that tax burden on that farms. And the legislature realized how expensive that would be to do business in Texas. So to be competitive, they came up with a way that schools could not tax them on the rate, but get payment in lieu of taxes, so they would get a preset amount of money annually. The schools got to keep that, rather than give it to the state. If it was levied through the rate under state law, it was more money than they were allowed to have, the money to go to the state. This is the way the schools could say, okay, we're not gonna tax you, but we're gonna get
Yeah.
50,000 or 200,000 a year to buy school buses and different things. But in a county, it's going to be different. Obviously, counties are allowed to give abatements. But in lieu, if you weren't to give an abatement, it would be new value, just like a new oil well coming online, a new house being built. You'd have, and I'm going to use $100 million for a round number, you'd have $100 million of new value on any given tax year. Your effective rate's calculated on the previous year's value, and then you're allowed by state law to go up 3.5% on your budget, and whatever rate that calculates is what you can adopt. So you can adopt any rate below the voter approval rate, which is 3.5% more money than what the effective rate calculates, which is the same amount of money you got the previous year. But then that new value is outside of that. So whatever rate you adopt, you would hit that $100 million and levy money off that $100 million, and that would be additional revenue for the county. Year 2, that $100 million is not new value, but you still get to keep your budget. So however the rates calculate, you could adopt within the spread of rates, but your budget would not go down. Your budget could increase another 3.5%. What scares people is that big depreciation. You know, a $100 million project, if it went down, you know, I'm gonna say 20%, that's a little high, but if it went down, well, say we went down 10%, that's $10 million in lost value. You have to have new value to offset that, to keep the rate about the same. If, say, your overall base went down and you lost that 10 million, now your rate's going up, which is allowed under state law, but it doesn't look good. You know,
Right,
nobody
exactly.
wants to
And
raise
it's-
their rates.
And it's year 2 where it really hits.
Where you start worrying.
Because of the new value the first year.
I looked last year, there was $40 million in new value to the county. I don't know what the main driver of that was, but that's a hard number that's on your information from the appraisal district. So on just one farm, if it was valued at $100 million, I think the new value would offset that. You wouldn't have, you know, a rate doubling or anything weird like that. A very, very small county with a very low tax base, you could have scenarios where tax rates could double to allow them to collect that much money. Now, you wouldn't have to necessarily set the rate that high. You would just collect a whole lot less money than you got. So that's kind of the fear of this heavy depreciation. And I can look further into it, but for this county, I don't know how much that would really matter. We've had huge depreciations in oil and gas for years, you know, and been able to withstand that. So just something to think about. And like I said, any specific questions y'all have, I can look into further.
Remember the compressor station deal that went for so many years, and then we didn't get anything? When Lisa was over there?
When they contested, and then they all sued and went through all of that.
Yeah, 3 or 4
But
year period.
we had that with Big Brown too,
Yep.
that Lumen, they wanted to decrease the funds and spend a lot of spend a lot of lawyers' fees on some of that. You know, with the oil and gas situation, it's up and down, it has been up and down. And we were able, prior to the legislature changing the way we could adopt our rates, we would raise our rates whenever we didn't have any oil and gas. But then when the oil and gas came, we would lower our tax rates. And we were able to do that for the benefit of the taxpayers. But now it's a different situation since the legislature has helped us out on telling us what we can do.
That's what I like about the pilot program. If the money comes straight into the general fund, then we don't lose control of it.
All right, so what do y'all think? 1% discount? 10 years? First year 25%, the remainder to be paid equally over the 9 years. Now, what attorney are we going to use? We talked about several that y'all know of.
I don't know whether we could, the one I mentioned in San Antonio, I don't know, they're probably covered up, I think, so I don't know. That's it.
Yeah, and can he represent us in the landowners also?
Yeah, because he's representing some of the landowners.
Yeah, he is representing some landowners in the office.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's
That probably been, need to go somewhere else.
Well, Mike Dixon has worked, we've always worked with him. He is in Waco, and he has worked on a lot of different cases for us. And I did call him, and he said that they have done, some programs over there, like on the wind farms, and some on solar farms. So he does have a, basis for that. I don't know if y'all have.
One of the
any
solar tax attorneys told me that Mike was working for Hill County on some contracts that they were, so they knew him personally. And, so anyway.
Well, then that might be what,
Yeah. Who did,
sounds like, we got, he's done stuff for.
who did the school thing, Billy? Who did it for y'all? Do y'all have an appointed attorney that does it for y'all, or did y'all hire somebody?
We hired an attorney at their expense.
I know that Bear County just had a whole bunch of solar farms put in the last couple of years, and asked them to, who they use.
Well, for the schools, they did pay.
Those were experienced attorneys with school districts and with the 313 level. I'm sure they would know the other side also.
Because I knew the guys, when I went over to the meeting that time, they were really well versed in what they were doing.
I'll call and talk to Justin Lewis, Hill County, and be sure what he recommends on that too, and then work with him. I know they've done some, like I said, Mike has done all for us ever since I've been for 25 years. And has done a good job. Oftentimes we call him for a little information and guidance, and he has provided that with no charge for employment issues, all different kinds of issues. Anything else? Do we,
We'll make a motion on what we
Yeah.
decided so far.
a motion to, set the discount on the pilot program at 20%. And the payments for the remainder of the amount on the, would be for the first year 25%, the remaining 9 years paid out in equal amounts. I've sent up a little straighter than that for you.
Okay.
Anything else you want on the motion?
We need to put in there that carries itself, that there will be 100% abatement, go with the pilot program.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
That's
there'll be 100% abatement, pilot program, 10 years, 20% discount, 25% first year.
75% divided by half.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Item number 3 is the replat of the Wilderness Phase 1. Replat of lots 65R, 64B. The final plat of 65R1 and 64B1.
We have all the information here. Mr. Johnson is here with us today.
Yes.
I think everything's in order. We just need to sign the plat, and he will need to take that over to your office. I'll make that motion that we approve the replat of Wilderness Phase 1, the replat of lot 65R and 64B, final plat of lot 65R1 and 64B.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, none, motion carried.
There are several signature lines on there.
There's some copies.
You're making us work this morning.
They put them at the top and they're rolled up. That's a good thing. You start there, you go.
I'll start here, one more back. Yeah, everybody in has it.
No, I don't want around, I don't want to look around.
I might be using it a little bit. You can make that check.
It would be rude.
Sir, 10 copies.
10
We have to sign it 10 times.
Go ahead.
The county clerk only needs 3 of them, so.
Okay, this first one is.
You miss one?
This.
They don't. It doesn't matter to me.
You did?
I did. Check the second one, because I think the second one that doesn't have anything.
We'll take it on the way back.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna sign all these so we can pass it right on.
Check that second page, because I saw it.
I got it, I got it. It is the second page.
Said you got it?
It's in there.
It's in this. Okay. Well, while we're finishing signing, as y'all know, my little granddaughter plays softball for Franklin, and they won their game last night. And so we have a game Saturday, and this is regional finals. So,
5-3.
Holy cow.
You missed one, Clyde.
Oh, come on, Will.
I'm gonna go inside, and go back. It's over there.
And I'm mentioning that another reason we have people from Franklin here that want to talk to us about the insurance thing. Anyway, I always tell them anyway, and keep them updated on what's happening.
Well,
Important events.
since you talked about important events, my little granddaughter that used to go to court all the time.
Yes.
Is graduating from high school today.
Wow.
12 o'clock. And I'm not gonna go make it, but
We could be through.
I can't make the awesome.
I'm sorry. We had this is a special meeting, it's not a regular, meeting that we normally have scheduled, so we had to reschedule it again, the special meeting. But anyway, thank y'all for being here.
You go ahead, good.
Okay, all right. Item number 4 is a presentation from Anco Insurance Brokers. I'll let y'all come up and introduce yourselves.
All right, I have a quick question if you don't mind.
Sure.
I was talking to them and their presentation may be a little shorter than mine. Can we switch it or do you want me to go ahead and go with it?
Sure.
If you don't mind, we
We're
could switch.
agreeable with that. Is everybody agreeable? Presentation from I3 Verticals.
Thank you, Judge, Commissioners. We are thrilled to be here today, and we appreciate the opportunity to come and speak with you. I3 Verticals has got a long-standing relationship with Freestone County through the Sheriff's Office, the County District Clerk's Office, and the Auditor Treasurer's Office. We have provided software for our company and data to the county. And I've got Shannon Garza with me today. She is with our company that has a law enforcement software that we've been kind of working with the Sheriff's Department on upgrading their software. And we would like to just present to you what we can do for the entire county, what we can do for the law enforcement agencies in the county, and how we can connect everyone on the same system. I understand that you guys are working towards having all the law enforcement agencies being able to communicate with one another. So Shannon is our product expert on our Interop program, and she will answer any questions or just kind of walk you through how we can accomplish this for the county.
Thank you, Wendy, I appreciate it. Again, thank you guys so much for having us out today, and appreciate your time. As Wendy mentioned, we have kind of spoken with the Sheriff's Office. We're looking at migrating a lot of the old data law enforcement platform. It's very old and antiquated, so we're updating it with our new law enforcement program. And the last time we were in town, we were speaking with the sheriff and realized that you guys were looking towards a consolidated 911 platform, which is definitely inside our wheelhouse. So we wanted to take the time to talk to you guys a little bit about how we can help you with that solution. Our product suite is called the Interop product suite. It is fully law enforcement. It is everything from CAD, which is your 911 software, to your records management for offense reports, arrest reports, quartermaster evidence, everything that the agency needs to perform their day-to-day operations, as well as a jail management system, along with a mobile system so you can communicate with the other units on the street, local police if they're involved in the project as well, all the Sheriff's Department units. Fire and EMS also can be on the platform as well, and an e-citation program. So with that, what would typically be a couple of $100,000 for a new client, because you guys are already an I3 Verticals client, we would just be simply migrating you and updating you into this newer, more updated platform for a significantly less cost. So we kind of just wanted to reach out and see if you guys had any questions that we could answer for you. We'd love to maybe schedule a demo and show you the full product, what it's capable of doing, maybe get some other key stakeholders involved in showing you how the information can seamlessly transfer from one module to the other without dual entry, double keying, increasing errors and that sort of thing. It's really a benefit to the community when you can get units out on your street faster and get service providers responding to each other electronically without having to talk over the radio all the time and, you know, pass around paper reports that get lost and that sort of thing, so. That's kind of what we're here to talk about.
Do y'all just sell software?
So we do, on the law enforcement side, we sell software, however, we can do hardware as well because we are we've been doing this since 2005, so we've got a lot of partnerships that we can leverage to get you great discounts. Sometimes, and I'm just being honest with you guys, sometimes because you're a county government, you can get better pricing. I come from a city government, so I know how tax bases work. It's not gonna hurt my feelings at all if you guys can find a better rate on hardware. I'll certainly work with you however we need to. If that answers that question.
It does.
Okay, good.
Sheriff, would you want to schedule maybe a short presentation where we could invite the officers and all to look at that?
Yeah, that's fine with me. We've actually already seen it, but yes,
Okay.
just similar to what the other ones.
Yes. And about how long does that usually last?
If we're doing a full county suite, it can typically take about an hour and a half to 2 hours. But what we can also do is kind of tailor it, and I can send you an agenda for
Okay.
who to bring in for certain parts, because not everybody wants to sit through
Okay.
everything,
All right.
and that's understandable.
We'll do that.
Okay, awesome. Thank
We
you.
have looked at a couple of others, so we'll be glad to look at that one, and then all of them can talk and discuss, and hopefully we can all get on the same page, and with our better entry-wise, especially not having to re-enter things
Exactly.
several times. Everybody is on the same page.
Information about this and things. We'd love to have you with us. Thank you so much.
Send me your stuff, and we'll try to set a meeting, and, okay.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is yours. If you don't want to stay for the whole meeting, you can go on down to the county clerk's office and file that.
Okay,
all right.
We're going to have a presentation now, and it has to do with insurance. Any of you that would like to, we'd love to have you stay, but, you need to get on to the clerk's office and get here, no problem, Mr. Johnson, but anybody that would like to stay, we're certainly welcome for you to stay. It's an open meeting, but if you need to leave, I understand. All right, here we go.
Here we go. Well,
Yes.
thank you for your time this morning. And it's on a Friday, everybody's got to be a little excited this Friday, right?
That's right.
I sure am. So we've got a long weekend coming. I'm gonna follow my presentation here real quick, and I promise not to bore you too much. Insurance is, everyone loves to talk about medical insurance.
Well, I'm glad you called, because we, of course, are interested about what you can provide us with, and the help you provide us with, and how much it's gonna cost.
There we go.
There
That's
you
the
go.
always key components there.
Pretty
So,
much.
some of you may have not heard of ANCO Insurance. I want to kind of talk about our history. We've been around since 1873. So our main office in Bryan College Station, we have 7 offices here in the state of Texas. So we have 2 in Houston, 1 in Austin. Of course, our Bryan office is our main office. Livingston, Waco. We're about to open up an office in Atlanta, Georgia, of all places. So we're really expanding and growing. We have 3,500 benefit clients, 150 employees working at ANCO. So just a little bit about us. My mugshot I put on here, here's your ANCO team. Basically, our president is Ross Jones. So what's funny about this, all 4 of us are the same age. Ross worked in the benefit department for 17 years. 2 years ago, moved over to the president side of things. When he took over, it was a really good benefit for us. Daniel Anderson he is basically a partner I've known ever since I was knee-high to a duck, basically. He and I have worked together for a long time. And Scott, which is here in the back, he works with us as well. So this is kind of your team that you'll see behind the scenes if we were to work on your account. Kelly Kopic is the account manager. We have a Ben admin team that basically what they do for us, if we have an online enrollment platform, all they do is build out enrollments for us. So I don't know if you have that now, or if y'all do paper, or if it's online, or how that even looks on when it comes to enrollment. But we have the capability of doing it all online if that's something you want. So additional support, Ronnie O'Neill worked for Brian Asd for 30 years, and he is on our team now. We brought him over for that background, self-insured plans, things like that. So I'm just gonna skip here to the next slide. Our account management team here at ANCO has only had 3% turnover. So 3% turnover rate in anything is phenomenal, right? So I mean, I know y'all deal with turnover, whether it's road and bridge or here in the county, it's like a revolving door. We stick around and stay there. ANCO Insurance, we're a platinum broker with all the major carriers, United Healthcare, Cigna, Aetna, Blue Cross. We also work with TML and TAC. We have, you'll see here in a minute, the relationships we have with counties and cities, but we do negotiate with TAC and TML. Again, Ross is the executive Blue Cross Broker Council. He's on the board. Daniel and I have both been at ANCO. It'll be 15 years this June. I've been at ANCO. Again, we negotiate with TML and TAC. Scott, we brought on, he's been in the business 5 years. He has an IT background, so there's times where IT comes up. We pull Scott in to pick his brain a little bit, but he does help on the benefit side. And I mentioned Ronnie O'Neill earlier. So just a snapshot of ANCO, kind of where we're located in Texas, but we do have clients in all 50 states. So that's something else to know. We're a Texas-based company, but we service clients nationally. So we have all over the place, and there's different states that definitely have different rules to play by that we keep up to date on those changes. Here's our strategy. We work on compliance, cost containment, and administration. I'm going to hit on all three of these just in more detail, so I'm going to skip this slide. Here's our footprint. So you can see we have Leon County, Hill County, as was mentioned earlier, Robertson, Madison. We also have Heart of Texas COG, Brazos Valley Council of Governments as well, Boys and Girls Club of America. They're nationally all over the country. City of Caldwell. So these are just a snapshot of a few. We're talking to Milam, Erath, and Bosque, and Freestone. So we're working on all these counties at this point. Are all going to be kind of new to ANCO's platform. The cost containment aspect of this, I mean, if you look at budgets, we talk about, approved budgets constantly. Medical insurance is a high cost. I mean, I don't care where you go. That's one of the high items on a lot of budgets. So our cost containment, we try to retain, lower that cost for our clients. So when it comes to, I don't know if you have a retiree program now for retirees or not. Is it built into your current plan, or is that separate? Okay, good. So that's something that we would definitely look at and entertain, because we like that separate, just because it contains your cost. Proactive renewal process, basically we're working on all of our county business now. We try to get out way in advance, that way we're not last minute making a decision. Because if you do that, you make last minute decisions, then it puts everything back. So we're working on that now. Benchmarking, we can benchmark you with other counties. So we can tell you what other counties are doing, how much they're having their employees pay, what their deductibles look like, what their out-of-pockets look like, what their co-pays look like. Wellness program, all these sound, so these are all things that we can do at ANCO, not that I would bring them to you and say, hey, this is what I recommend, this is just something we can talk about. But wellness programs are things that we help build out. A lot of times are good at first, but when we leave here and go eat a cheeseburger and french fries like I'm probably going to do here in a minute, that wellness program kind of gets messed up a little bit on that. But that's just to be honest, we like hamburgers and I eat them all the time. So that wellness program is something we can do. Premium Saver products, this is something we have actually in Madison County. It's a little bit of a learning curve, but basically what that will do for you, it allows us to take a high deductible plan and fully insure an HRA and buy that product down. So lower our deductible. Something else that we're going to look at in our counties, what is our deductible on our medical plan? Do you know?
Is it 2,500?
Yes, 2,500 to 91.
And is that the one as employer? I mean, y'all pay the employee on that one?
Uh-huh.
So we have a new product that is actually the community action agencies endorse. It's called Nonstop Health. And basically, it's a zero deductible, zero copay, zero out of pocket. So all that sounds too good to be true.
Say that again.
Zero deductible, zero out of pocket, zero copay. So how that works is, when I'm assuming you'll have TAC on your medical plan. We would go to TAC, and we would go to them and get the largest deductible, largest out of pocket they have. So it'd probably be a $6,000, $6,350 HSA plan. So we bring Nonstop Health in, and they preload a Visa card with all your deductible and all your out of pocket on it. So you'll have a TAC rate, a Nonstop Health rate, and it'll give you one employee only rate. The reason you do that is you completely eliminate all the out of pocket for the employees. It has to make sense. You'll have to look at the math and make sure it makes sense for the county to do it. But that's something we're going to show you as well, that we do work on this. And it's all endorsed by the community action agencies. We have Brazos Valley Community Action Agency, which is the Health Point clinics. They're the ones that brought it to our attention, and it is really something that's really been on our radar. And they have different options, but we can discuss that later. But it's a program. Here, how it saves cost is basically, is you now have a high deductible with TAC. So they're not paying anything out until they hit that deductible. Other than the employees have a Visa, I'm talking about it's a Visa card that is loaded with that first day they can walk over here and get surgery and pay nothing. So it's something that's very unique that we're bringing to the counties to let you look at it and see what you think about it. So it's a good way to contain costs there, because now our deductible's higher with TAC, and then it's covered the other way. And if there's money's left over at the end of the year on the Nonstop, it comes back into a credit to the county. So very unique situation that will definitely add to the conversation. Telemedicine is something else that we use to reduce cost. We use new benefits. I know with TAC you have a 1-800 number that you can call for telemedicine. We have it with new benefits because it separates it away from the plan. It costs about $7 an employee. And what that does for you, if you're out, well, it never fails me, for instance, when I do finally get away with my wife, away from everything, my kid gets sick, or they get ear infections, right? So my oldest was at a clinic and he was swimming a lot, got swimmer's ear. I was over 4 hours away, called telemedicine up, got him a script called in Franklin. She picked it up, my mom picked it up, and he was taken care of. But all that stuff there never went to my plan, right? It stayed off of our medical plan. So it didn't show up on that. So the stuff that you can pull away, that how you contain your costs on your medical.
What's kind of unique too on that plan is you don't have to be on the medical plan to take that. So any dependents in that household are covered under that plan.
Right.
So let's just say someone can't afford to put, their 5 kids on their medical plan. We get this telehealth separately. Anybody in the household can use that at no cost.
Because typically we see employee spouse, children, and family, their rates are high. And there's not a whole lot of participation in those because the cost is substantial. So that comes into play, it really helps the family out. Because we met with the county the other day, and she doesn't even have her kids on any kind of insurance because it's too expensive. So that's something that we would bring to the table. There's some other things here that I'm going to mention. Tobacco surcharge. There are counties out there that do charge if you have tobacco, and that is a sore subject. So I'm going to kind of skip that one. I seen the whole pop just a second. So dependent eligibility audit. So we have a third party that audits plans to make sure we don't have any kids that shouldn't be on the plan, anyone that shouldn't be enrolled in the plan. That is a disruption when it comes to the employees. You want to make someone mad? Do that. Because they're going to have to provide stuff for us to make sure they should be eligible. These are just all cost containment things that we bring up. Medicare education is something else that's big. And based on the retiree program, I'm assuming that's tailored to the Medicare side of things. Our Medicare program that we put in doesn't have a donut hole in the drug card. That's what we find a lot of times on the Part D of Medicare. The scripts are where you really lack, but on a retiree program, you can put one in that has a zero zero donut hole. And if you're familiar with Medicare and Part D, that drug card of it is a little weak compared to everything else. Livongo, I'm assuming you probably have that with TAC. So if anyone has diabetes or that's a good program that they have. that basically you can get insulin and your medical, and they basically will call you. If they see that you have diabetes, they're gonna reach out to you and call you and make sure you have everything that you need. And it also contains cost, because now we're taking care of our business. When everything goes up so much like it is now, the first thing people usually cut are scripts. They quit taking their prescriptions, because that's something, well, I can do it, I think we're all right. Cost containment is something else that we do in our open enrollment meetings. I don't know if you've heard of GoodRx or not. Some of you probably have seen it advertised, they're all over the place. GoodRx is a good way to save costs, because how many times have you went to the pharmacy and had no idea what it's gonna cost you till you pulled up to the window? And they say, okay, $500, you're like, well, you can keep that script, I don't need it that bad. Well, GoodRx is a tool that you can use to keep from being surprised when you go to the pharmacy. No cost, anybody can use it. So those are just tools that we use to educate employees, to let them know what's out there when it comes to that. I'm gonna kind of start speeding this up, because I know this is a boring process, but Springbuk is a claims analytic tool that we can use. How many employees do we have enrolled here at the?
Full-time ones, about 93.
93. Okay, so this is something that we typically use on a claims analytics. So what that does for us, we can go in and basically say, all right, it comes straight from the carrier, and we can show gaps in care. This is something that's hard to read, but on this particular group, hypertension was a big problem. They had a lot of issues with that. So we would go back and try to get a zero copay for their scripts, try to get things to get them to lower that down. So this is a good tool that we use when it comes to that. I'm going to skip this one. This is actuarial service that we have. Administration, so whoever's in that, sounds like y'all may be involved in that. This is the slide that you would really like to pay attention to. Do we have, when it comes to payroll, is it, you don't have a carrier, it's just basically, what do y'all use for payroll?
Net data.
Net data. So we also use Employee Navigator, and I don't know if y'all do all paper, or do you do it online, or how does that work?
It's turned into paper form, and then I have to implement it into a software.
Okay, great. So what we'll do is, if we are your agent on your plan, we're going to give you Employee Navigator. So it's not going to cost you anything. We're going to have our guys build out the plan, and then when it's all said and done, everyone goes through enrollment, and Clyde here didn't finish his enrollment, I'm going to get an email saying, hey, he needs to finish his enrollment. We're going to get Clyde to get his enrollment done, right? And then when it's finished, you can pull a report on there and upload it to your payroll system. So it'll all be done electronically, and that's going to save you a lot of legwork.
So just the insurance part's what you're talking about?
Correct.
So right now, yeah, it's paper form, and we have to.
So that would be something that we could add. I mean, not that we have to, but it's capable. And you'll really like it, because we have it in Hill County, and they can just pull a report out. Now you have your payroll done, you know, to go in. And it also keeps from having people saying, why is my check so low? Well, you signed up for all this. Well, when we're going through Employee Navigator, it totals it up as they go, right? So then at the bottom, it gives them a total. So they're not surprised when that first check comes out and they have a lot coming out. And so I need to cancel all that, that's too expensive. So that kind of keeps those scenarios from happening as well.
So one thing with the technology, we understand everybody doesn't like technology. So at our enrollment meetings, we sit down with everybody one-on-one. So we'll set the computer right here and we'll walk them, anybody that needs walking through, we'll walk them through the whole thing. But it is nice to be able to take it home to your spouse and let them do it. So they can just, click a link at home and they walk them to their spouse, and then, hey, you selected something you shouldn't, and they can unselect it and see what the check looks like. Because I know a lot of times, you jump into one meeting and hurry up, we gotta get this done, and this gives us the ability to let them go home and discuss with spouses. And then we'll follow up, even come back another day and sit down with anybody else that needs more information. So it's not just like, here's a link and good luck. I mean, it's still a full enrollment meeting, 2 to 3 days. You'll see us and more people here with laptops, and we'll walk.
What about new hires? Would y'all come in every month for new hires?
Yes, we can do that.
And also on that platform, I'll record the enrollment meeting. They get to see my mugshot on that deal, and I'll go through the whole presentation, and they can watch it too. So we'll be able to upload that presentation to Employee Navigator too. And then we'll build out benefit books. I have a few books that I brought with me that we actually built out a benefit book for you. That's something you can handle. And if it's too late and we know we can't do this, Employee Navigator, we'll make a one-page application for people to fill out. So instead of having an application for medical, dental, and all that, we'll simplify it to one app. So that's something else we'll help with. Bilingual enrollers, they're our employees. There's 4 of them that work for us that are bilingual, so if we have any need for that, we have that capability. HR support, we're definitely going to help you on a regular basis. When it comes to adding employees, dropping them in COBRA assistance, right now, I don't know what that looks like for you, if you have to go into Jack or Blue and enroll an employee.
We go into Oasis.
Okay, Oasis. So if you wanted to keep doing that, you could. If you wanted to put that on us, you could do that as well. So if you have an employee that's hired.
That's through TAC, so if we can go through TAC, I'm sure that would go away, so.
Well, we work inside of that too, so I'll just have to see when it comes to that side of things. But if it does go away, you know we're going to do it for you. When it comes to terminal, we can term them off. COBRA administration, I don't know if that's signed in through there right now currently. That's something else that we'll facilitate. So basically, we're hands-on. Anything from open enrollment all the way throughout the year, we're here to support you when it comes to that. A lot of times you have to call TAC, and it takes a while to get responses back from them. That's what we're playing, and we can get you a response pretty quick. HR services, so what we'll do is we'll give you access to Mineral. Think HR. It's an HR platform. You can go out there and look and build employee handbooks. You can ask questions, any of that stuff on that, and that's just with a client of ours, you'll get that as an added bonus. What else? Annual communications, so we'll create the books, out some guides, I'll show you. I'm going to kind of skip bid admin support, since you really don't have a payroll, you have your own setup. This is a little different that we can get into. Employee communications, this was key during COVID. So no one knew what they could do during COVID. We created an employee communication. If something like that ever happens again, we'll submit it to you and say, hey, get this out to the population, let them know where they can go get care for this or that. And that's what that newsletter will do for them. So we'll build those out as well. Compliance, this is a slide that I wish I could just scrap altogether. But insurance has turned more to compliance than it has insurance. So basically on this, we have ETC that we use. We'll create an ERISA RAP document for you, and that will give you audit protection from us. So that's something to know. If the Department of Labor was to come in here and audit the county, we're going to represent you, and it's not going to cost the county anything because of our ERISA RAP document. Scenarios where I always pick on Johnny, so I don't see Johnny, but I have Johnny as an employee. I don't know when he's here, when he's not here. What can I do with Johnny? Can I fire him? Can I tell him to go by? Send me an email and I can tell you what you can do with Johnny. So we have our attorneys that can give you legal documentation on what you can do with Johnny. So that's on the compliance. You don't have to do that as counties. You don't have to fill out 5500s, which is good. That's just one less thing you have to do as a county. POP plans are your premium only, your cafeteria plan. We can update that document to make sure it's on file and corrected. So if we do change or things will change, we can update that document for you. Industry attorney access, so anything you have questions related to medical or anything in the insurance, we can help with that. Again, we can help with the employee handbook. If it hasn't been updated in a while, we can update it for you. Legislative briefs, so if things come out, executive orders are signed, we're going to send you documentation. So this was signed today, this and this has to go through before anything else can be done. So just know that we have access to that. And if all this I'm talking about today, there's no cost to the county for that. If we're your agent, this is all what we do for our clients. So any of our clients, even if it's county or private, this is the services we provide. Basically a transition timeline. This is a timeline that we show when we start going out to quote or proposals. We show when we need it, when we plan to get it back, the negotiation part of it, and what implementation we do afterwards. So we want to get the employee, we want to build out the program, we want to make sure we have enrollments closed by the 15th of August. That way our first payroll run, we have our deductions correct. And do y'all run a month before?
On our health insurance, we do, yes.
So we'll make sure that's built out and make sure people have ID cards in their hand to make sure that we have the right deductions in place before it actually goes into place. So that's something else that's very important when it comes to that. I was trying to go through that fast, so I didn't really give time to ask questions. That's kind of what I was going to save to the end. If you have questions over what I went over, we'll bring out this book here real quick.
Currently, right now, we offer 5 plans to our employees. Do y'all allow that?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
How is the participation in those? Was there one of them that you have 1 or 2 employees in?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's kind of, we can continue the 5, for sure, but we usually used to try to go to 3. It just depends, I'm not saying we would. We can keep the 5, but that's usually what happens when we find a plan that's got 1 or 2 in. And if we were educating the employees, like if we were doing enrollment meetings, they would realize that they would probably be better off in some.
Well, in the beginning, they had 10 plans, and we offered all 10, and we went down to 5 because we only had people in 5, so.
Okay, well, that's fine, we can, that's not an issue, we can keep it that way, it's just, with us educating and explaining things to them, I bet we could simplify that too, but that's where it's important that I tell everyone I go, I'm with you until you let me go. I don't know if that's good or bad, but you'll see me here every year. If it's a good or bad thing, I don't know. But basically, yeah, so that we're here, the resource, we're not here today and going tomorrow time. And here are like examples of books that we would build out. So we built out one for the county, have your logo on it. So employees can take this home, look over it, and it has everything benefit related in it. So when we sit down with them, we go over this with them, or we do a group presentation with them, and we hand them these books, and they can take it home to their spouse. And I'm going to pick on the precincts, because I've done many meetings with early in the morning before everyone goes out to work, and they say, "Oh, I'm signing up for that plan. There's no doubt." And I said, "Wait till you take it home to your wife. She's going to change you to this other plan." "Oh, no." Sure enough, he comes back and he's on the other plan. And I said, "I told you." But that's basically part of educating and explaining it, and that's why we like these books. They can take them home, and then if it's online, the spouse can help them enroll in it. But it doesn't have to all be electronic. I know there's some of us that start using our flip phones that don't have access to that, and that's what we have as a resource to help you. Any questions? I did talk a lot.
Money.
So basically, right now you're TAC. So there is nothing in that for us. What we would do is we would negotiate with TAC. So we would go back and negotiate with them, and anything that was potentially negotiated. So I usually see renewals from TAC 3, 4, 5%, 10 on the high end. If we went back and negotiated with them, and we were your agent, we would potentially split the savings with you. But if there's no savings, then we're here for free for you. So that's the kind of we know that we can negotiate with them, and we're going to go to the market. And what's the beauty of that is when we go to the open market, and I get down healthcare in my hand, I get Aetna in my hand, now TAC knows we got competition. So they know that at that point we have to play ball. And our goal is not to move from TAC. We'd love to stay because everybody likes TAC and Blue Cross. We get it. There's a scenario in Hill where we had to move, and that was substantial savings when we did move. But we'd entertain all that and look at it. So there's no cost. Today, let's just say this. What you're paying today, you can only get better, in my opinion, from there. So there's nothing that you're going to see. There's not going to be a bill that slides across your desk and you have to approve our service. So if we take over, then it's all built in, basically. Like on your dental and all that stuff that's already built in, we would represent it that way. I feel that confident in it. When we get a hold of it, we're going to save money. And if we don't, then hey, we're working for free for you.
Do y'all require a certain amount of employees to be enrolled in the program? I mean, like, we have more than 93 people.
Right.
I mean, do y'all have a number that can opt out, or you have to have so many in there?
No, whatever you have is fine. I mean, we usually see that standard. I mean, they're not always 100% participation, even if it is completely paid for. We don't expect it to be.
Currently, we also offer a life insurance policy to our employees to do that.
Absolutely. So anything when it comes to medical, dental, vision, life, short-term, long-term, critical illness, accident, forgetting something else. We have a MASA program, maybe like when someone were to, air flight program. So that's something else that we have that, I mean, that's expensive. I mean,
We've tried to get that here, but they, for some reason, said they couldn't offer it to us as a group.
And we have an option to show you that as well. It just depends on kind of where you fall in that line, but.
We just have individual policies now with
Right.
With your insurance, you can see any doctor you want to see.
Yes, sir. I'm not gonna, and if there is a disruption, right, if I say, all right, we're looking at moving, for some reason, the numbers are so lucrative, you're like, we really gotta entertain this. We can run what they call a disruption report, right? We can show you that, hey, 5 of our employees are gonna just be disrupted with it. So we would definitely let you look at that. All the carriers I mentioned, they're all large PPO carriers, so you shouldn't have an issue. The only time we run into an issue every now and then is on a specialist, dermatologist at times, but we'll have a report to show you if there is that disruption. But again, our goal is not to move it. Our goal is to lower what you're paying. And then if it didn't, like I said, if it doesn't work out, then, hey, we give it our best shot. But knowing what we know in the industry and what we're doing, I don't see it not saving money.
Employees with pre-existing conditions right now, they won't be shunned or they'll still get the same.
That's a good question. Yeah, all that went away in 2012, basically. On these group plans, they can't do anything about it, which is a good thing, because that was tough back then. But anyone else have any questions?
Can you sell me a $2 million life insurance policy, and then I'll go ahead and take the $2 million, and then you'll get it back when I die?
I don't know if
He's
that.
good, but-
I don't know if that's, I mean, that would probably get me in trouble.
So in advance, on the inevitable, you know.
I think it might be what they call rebating. That rebating word and our word gets in trouble.
if we decide to do this, how would that process work?
So basically, if you decide for us to be your agent, we have to have a letter signed and want to negotiate with TAC on your behalf. The reason we think that's going to be in your best interest is because, I hate to say this, but you're one county with 90 people or whatever it is. We have a huge book of business. We're number 5 in the state with Blue Cross. So I know TAC is Blue Cross, so we're number 5 in the state when it comes to how much business we put with them. That's it. Basically, we take that letter and then we'll start the process of shopping all your other stuff as well. The ancillary, we won't take all that over unless it's with TAC. Is the dental with TAC now?
Yes.
Yeah. And let me ask you this one question. Did they say, hey, if you put your dental with us, we'll give you a discount on your medical?
They don't tell us that, but I mean, the dental did drop this year, so.
Okay. So it's just one of those things where typically when we get it, we make them give us something if we put something in, right? Give us something off, yeah, we'll give it to you. So that's where the negotiating comes in with us.
How much is our insurance per year?
It's going up for this next year, 6%.
Okay.
And, so currently, we pay,
$8.90 something?
$895.76.
And see, what I would do on that is I would like this nonstop I brought up earlier. If I was the agent on that, I'm gonna go back to them and say, give me a quote with this in it. And I'm gonna go to nonstop bill, get a quote, look at the number, I wanna beat that number substantially and improve everyone's benefits. And then at that point, we'll have one plan. And that plan cover everything you got.
So, what counties do you represent that stayed with TAC insurance?
So we have Robertson County. So we're gonna take over Bosque. This is all in the works, okay? Bosque has TAC, ERAF has TAC. No.
Leon
Hill does not.
You mentioned.
Leon has Scott and White. Madison has Blue. So that's something else. If TAC declines, which y'all have TAC, which they didn't, but Madison, they declined Madison County. They said, we don't want you. When they do that, I can go straight to Blue Cross and get a quote that's not associated with that. So they have Blue Cross, it's not associated with that.
Now, would that mean that we would have to go like to Waco or College Station for our services?
Oh, no, no,
No.
no, that was
It's
just,
a PPO, so you
Yeah.
can still go.
it's still gonna be the same plan, it's just,
Okay, and
you
then,
just take the tack off the paper.
and then we still could use whatever doctors that we wanted to use?
Absolutely.
Just clarify.
I'm not gonna show you anything that won't provide that, because then you're gonna be mad at me. And so is whoever else that's in here. Yeah, I'll show you the pros and cons of it. I mean, if it comes up to, like that, 6%, I'd be willing, I could get it to a 0. So, but that's us negotiating. Because then I'm gonna go to the open market and I'm gonna show it to them. Here's what Aetna looks like, here's what United looks like, here's what Cigna looks like. We better get competitive on it. Leon has been with Scott and White for forever. They're on the old grandfather plan that Scott and White offers. It's gonna be hard for them to move away from that.
This is pretty cheap, is
We pull the trigger on this,
Yes, sir.
30 days, you come back and present again what
Correct.
you found out,
Yes, sir.
and we then make the decision. Is
Then
the
at
way
that
it
point,
works?
you can fire me.
That's what I'm saying, it won't work, you know.
Oh, no, I'm not gonna fire you when you're gonna be working for free.
Right. That's the truth. But basically, that's what it, and that's what we're willing to do, because, I mean, we wanna show you what we can do. And if we can't, then yeah, you got me.
So we
I wanna
have
see
to,
what they can show us.
Yeah.
I'm for it.
we have to, do our renewal with TAC by June the 28th, is when we have to have that done if we're gonna stay with TAC.
That's
So-
what they say, that yes, we can beat that time on the gallon. I mean, if we get that answer record signed and sent in, and then I'm gonna start aggravating you for some stuff. And you're not even supposed to be here today, right?
Yes.
You didn't? No, I will wait until next week, to do that if that's the case. 'Cause, you know, I heard you
Send
said
us a
that.
letter?
I can.
Okay.
I'll email that over. And we can negotiate and get going, and like I said, you know, it'll be done for free if we can't beat it. And you'll see, I'll show you every bit of it. And when we get the ancillary, like the dental and stuff, I wanna put a comparison side by side where it shows all this and a running total. And then
So you're basically just getting us a quote, is that correct?
I'm gonna give you a proposal for all these other carriers, and I'm gonna go back to them and say, this is not gonna work. So. And then I'm gonna request the other plans that I need.
Get around to that.
Put it on there.
I'll send it, I don't, I need to email it over to someone for,
You just send it to me.
I'll send it over. And then,
Or do you already have anybody here's email?
I do not.
Okay. Karen will get it to you back there, Karen Lisbon.
Okay. And this, again, we'll build these out.
Under you? Are you?
What is it, what's,
The letter, for,
no, I think to y'all.
yeah, you'll want to know.
Oh, okay.
And then we'll build these out, we'll print these, so that's something else that, nothing that we have. All right?
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank y'all, and I'll, hope I didn't bore you too much on a Friday. I hope so.
Any comments from the Commissioner's Court?
June 14th, remember the flag day, there's the deal where they're gonna retire the flags.
Yeah, June 14th, that's fire department.
Brian?
In Fairfield.
It's flag day, and we're gonna retire all the flags, if anybody has any flags that they want to take, they'll let them retire.
4,000.
He's the vice
All right. Anything else?
No, that's actually
Now,
not.
do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.